At long last, a tumultuous offseason, or at least a very interesting one for the Auburn Tigers, comes to an end as they travel to Waco for the season opener to take on Baylor for some Friday night football action. We are here previewing, predicting, and breaking down this game between the Auburn Tigers and the Baylor Bears. Hello, everyone. I'm Chris Phillips. He is Cole the Bear Thompson. Appreciate each and every single one of you tuning in. As always, make sure you like, subscribe, turn on notifications. Check us out via podcast, wherever you get your podcasts. You can also find us across all social media platforms, as well as our website, SECUnfiltered.com. And as always, we're powered by our friends over at FANDUEL. Visit FANDUEL.com/SECU to join today and get started with $250 in bonus bets when you win your first $5 bet. Once again, that's FANDUEL.com/SECU to get $250 in bonus bets today. The 2025 season is officially here for the Auburn Tigers, and what a big one they've got out of the gate as they travel down to Waco, Texas. I feel like that's Bear country as they take on the Baylor Bears, ironically enough. Friday, August the 29th, 7 o'clock Central kick on Fox. We are here previewing, predicting, and breaking down this game. Helping me do so, I am Chris Phillips, of course, my friend, my partner in crime, my colleague, my co-host, one of the best in the business, Cole the Bear Thompson, joins me once again. Cole, what's going on, man? Appreciate you taking the time. Really excited to break down this one with you and lock in some predictions for what I feel like is absolutely, undoubtedly one of the most intriguing games of week one.
We got Friday night SEC football on our television screens, and we got a blackout on the Brazos. Chris Phillips, let me make something clear. If you have never experienced a game at McLean Stadium, the atmosphere, the hype up, the ramping toward kickoff, it is a spectacle. And then you throw out the black uniforms, you bring back the chrome tops. Feels like that we're circa 2014. Bryce Petty is leading the show. A good way to close out 2024, 8-win season with Dave Aranda back, have an entire offseason to kind of fix your team. And these are two rosters that could really set the tone for the rest of their season en route to maybe being a dark horse for the college football playoff. I'll tell you what. You don't have to sell me on much on what we're going to see out on Friday night. I promise you, this is going to be a game to remember for a lot of reasons. And for me personally, as having Baylor in the college football playoff, kind of see this one actually end up in favor of the team from the Texas State.
You know, Bear, just for the record, when I said it was Bear country, I was referring to you, not necessarily Baylor. But it is Bear and Bears country, no doubt. In case you guys don't know, of course, our guy Cole Thompson, a native of the state of Texas, hence why I'm saying that, because if you didn't know that, you're probably like, what is he talking about? Either way, Auburn and Baylor are going to be a lot of fun. Like you said, Bear, Friday Night Lights, Friday, August the 29th, 7 p.m. Central. What an appetizer for the weekend this is. I mean, this isn't some run-of-the-mill non-conference game. This one's going to be intense. This one's going to be fun. Again, it's being aired on Fox, coming to you live from Waco, Texas at McLean Stadium, as Bear just pointed out. Cole, interestingly enough, our friends over at FanDuel, which again, make sure you sign up, FanDuel.com/SECU to place your bets. This line has bounced around all offseason. Auburn, I believe, opened up as the favorite. I think at one point they were favored by as much as 3.5, I believe. Either way, been sitting around that 3 number. This line swung all the way in favor of Baylor at one point. Now it is back as we sit here just over a week away from kick. Auburn is a 2.5-point favorite in this football game. The over-under sits at 57.5. So really interesting gambling movement here. What does it mean? We'll find out. The series history, Bear, Baylor leads this one all time, 2-1-1. The last meeting, who can forget that classic back in 1976 when Baylor won that game, 15-14. As we move into this football game specifically, though, Bear, I have to start. What's been your favorite Auburn offseason storyline? Because it has been one thing after another, day after day after day, from having multiple play callers on first, second, third, and fourth down to Hugh Freeze jokingly, but it being taken seriously, saying that he's going to play 3 quarterbacks in the game, to Auburn adding 7 national titles to their trophy case. Bear, I think Auburn fans are just happy this damn offseason is coming to an end. But it has been entertaining, at least for us.
Well, don't forget, you also have Cam Newton's jersey finally being retired as well. And
that was a good storyline. That was a fun one. That was
deserved. Remember, we were making fun of Hugh Freeze's golf game when it came to recruiting trips. A lot of things that have been going on. Listen, if anybody needs to see the football season begin, it's Auburn fans. It is. You need to just put the actual project and the product on the field and figure it out from there. Because you want to know what? If you end up beating Baylor by double digits, nobody's really going to care or talk about, hey, we're claiming now 7 national titles, including one that, we saw a few years ago when UCF claimed a national title after beating us. They were relentlessly made fun of. So you know what? We're going to do the exact same thing. Nobody's going to care about you playing 3 quarterbacks. If Jackson Arnold ends up throwing for 300 yards and 4 touchdowns, he's QB1. If he gets hurt and Deuce Knight comes in and he ends up being the right answer, guess what? He's QB1. If you have Ashton Davis coming on in and he ends up playing this extremely well, guess what? You won by double digits. You're starting off your season on the right note. The offense is humming in the right direction. That's all you care about. Play callers, cool. Hickory dickory dock, dude pass, dude run, dude pass. We're in the end zone in 4 plays. Like, nobody cares. You just got to see it on the field, because it's all talking points right now. And it feels like that we're still trying to live in the past. And what's so funny is that we're bringing up the 7 national titles and the Cam Newton jersey being retired. And it's like, hey, look over here. Don't look over what's going on the football field. Look at the positivity. Look back at when we were good. Look back at when things were trending in our direction. Look back at when we actually had something to talk about and not what's going on the field. That's what it feels like right now. You can end that by simply going into an environment that I will tell you, it rattles. McLean Stadium is not a place for the faint heart. It is one of the best environments in Big 12 football. You march into their backyard, a game that has now said multiple times, Baylor's the favorite. Baylor's got the better quarterback. Baylor's got the better offensive personnel. Baylor's got the better offensive play caller. And you set the tone, and you don't take your foot off the gas. Nobody's paying attention to what this offseason was. They're paying attention to what this season is. And it could be a very special season out on the plains. It also could end in a tire fire that literally has set the entire state of Alabama on the west side up in flames. And we're once again waiting to see who is going to be coming into Jordan-Hare Stadium looking to finally fix the Tigers in 2026. Like, it all hinges on this game.
You are right, Bear, from the standpoint of the offseason's been so crazy and the storylines are so rampant just because of the simple fact that Auburn has not been winning football games in the last couple of years. That's what it is. Like, when you're not winning and things aren't going well, we make mountains out of molehills. It's just what you do. There's a negative spin on everything. And I agree with you. I mean, you hate to call a game so early in the season a must win. You hate to do that because it's like there's 11 opportunities after this. But, Bear, it is hard for me to envision Auburn having the kind of season they want to have, and maybe we feel like they need to have under Hugh Freeze in year 3. It's hard for me to envision that without getting a win in this week 1 matchup. It's difficult because there's going to be much tougher roadblocks down the way. And again, who knows? Baylor might win the Big 12. I mean, some people have been picking to do it. You got them in the playoffs. So, like, it's not like you're playing some scrub team. But still, Bear, I'm sure you'd agree with me. If Auburn's going to be what they feel like they should be at this point in Hugh Freeze's tenure and what they want to be, this one's got to be a W, man. Like, this one has to. Is there a SEC team who needs a win in week 1 more than Auburn does?
LSU, but that'd be the only argument you can have. That would be
a different dynamic, but I would agree with you there. But this one's big. I'll just leave it at that. This one's very, very big for the Tigers.
Well, it's 2 Tigers teams, but it's different. With LSU, the expectation is to compete for a national title. For Auburn, we want to get back to 9 wins. We want to show that we're competitive. We're in that tier 2 range, and we have at least a tier 2 coach that can keep us very much trending in the right direction, where maybe not every year we're in the playoff hunt, but every 2 or 3 years, we're certainly beating up on Georgia. We're certainly beating up on Alabama when they come into our backyard. We're not losing to Kentucky. We're not losing to Missouri. We're holding our own against when we face off against Texas next season. Little things like that. Non-conference games. When we schedule the tougher out-of-conference opponents, we end up beating them. That's what you want to see in year 3. Because year 1 for Hugh Freeze, let's just call it as is. He had to break down a lot of things that went wrong in the Brian Harsin era in a span of 24 months. So I gave him the benefit of the doubt. Last season, played a lot of freshmen, a lot of newcomers that he really didn't want to break on in. He knew there was going to be some growing pains. And there were. They went 5-7. But then you go out in the portal and you land a top 5 portal class, including the best wide receiver, one of the best offensive linemen, another really good offensive lineman in Mason Murphy. Get better in the defensive backfield. Get better in your depth with your pass rush. You have a top 10 recruiting class back-to-back years. After focusing so much on the offensive side, you focus it on the defensive side. You make sure that you pay enough money to keep DJ Durkin from leaving for Notre Dame or Ohio State. He's back in the saddle because of how good the defense played last season. And we're still seeing the same results. At that point, the only person left to blame is the person at the helm. And yes, it's easy to say if you cut the head of the snake, the poison will dwindle away. But sometimes just cutting off the head of the snake saves a lot of lives. Yeah, it's a big time game for Auburn. And it's a big time game because you feel like you have won the offseason. Everything has culminated in your favor. And yet still you're finding ways to ruin it with offseason conversations. So you got to be able to show on out in week one. You got to be able to show on out that you can play in a road environment. And you have to be able to show that the way that you have been building this team the last several seasons has culminated to where this is the year it all comes together. And even if we don't go to the college football playoff, we sure as hell are going to play a nice spoiler role.
Bear, I know you're high on this Baylor team, so I want you to talk about them a little bit. And I'll tell you this, the matchup, because we're all going to be talking about, and we'll get to in a second, Jackson Arnold. Obviously, we're intrigued by his debut, what Hugh Freeze can do with him. Do they actually play three quarterbacks? I don't necessarily think they do, but it'll be fun to watch. But either way, all eyes are going to be on the quarterback, the offensive side of the football. That's where we naturally gravitate towards. But I'm really intrigued by this matchup with Auburn's defense and the plan DJ Durkin puts together against a guy in Sawyer Robertson that I think is probably one of the more underrated quarterbacks in the country. And Bear, you look at this Baylor offense. You know what jumps out to me? I look at the offensive line. Senior, junior, junior. And he's a redshirt junior, the final guy. They're an old football team on the offensive side of the ball. They got some dudes who can make some plays. They got some dudes who can cause some havoc. That matchup between what I think is going to be a really solid Auburn defense, led by a guy like Keldrick Falk up front, who's going to be a disruptor, going up against a pretty potent Baylor offense. I think that's one, because you look at Vegas, 57.5, they expect this to be a little bit more of an offensive shootout. Talk about Baylor a little bit. I'm excited personally, again, to see what Auburn defensively can do against a quarterback like Sawyer Robertson.
Robertson wasn't the starter week one. I think a lot of people forget about that he ended up losing the job to Daquan Finn, comes on in week 3, and then is kind of the catalyst toward an 8-win season. A lot of people were doubting Dave Aranda. They thought that his time in Waco was kind of coming to an end. Spavital gets hired as the new offensive coordinator, and slowly but surely you watch as the numbers really increase. That first game that he comes on in as a replacement, Colorado, they end up losing. The following week, they end up losing to BYU, but he throws for 324 yards. The following week after that, they lose to Iowa State. But again, the numbers continue to grow up. And then you get to that Texas Tech game. 5 touchdown performance, 65% completion rating, really good on the ground and maneuvering behind the line of scrimmage. And then they're off to the races. They rattle off 6 straight wins to close out the year. They lose to LSU in the Texas Bowl, but he ends up throwing for 445 yards. He's the perfect fit for the style of offense that Spavital wants to run. Explosive, vertical downfield, and not being afraid to let it fly. That is what you're going to get in the Sawyer Robertson quarterback, who I think is a top 10 passer going into this year. I know a lot of people are sleeping on him. I'm not. I'm wide awake. I'm watching his film. I love everything about this kid. He has all the intangibles you want as a QB1 to lead your team to a college football playoff race. But he's not the only guy. You mentioned the offensive line. 4 veteran returning starters. 4 guys that have continuity playing in this personnel. And the only guy that they're replacing, I believe, is the right tackle. So again, this is an offensive identity that has the chops, that also has the capability, and also has the high upside to really transcend yourself into a position where you feel like that everything is looking in your direction in a positive manner. They also have one of the best rushing attacks. Bryson Washington is coming on in. Last season led the Big 12 in rushing yards, averaged 5.7 yards a play, 11 plus touchdowns, had so much continuity and consistency. And you also have Josh Cameron on the outside. Josh Cameron last season was one of the best wide receivers in the Big 12. He was one of the more constant forces and constant threats that was able to take the tops off of defenses. The other thing that I really like is that they have 2 veteran receivers coming on in. Ashton Hawkins is back for another year. They also brought in Kobe Pretense, who played at the University of Alabama, never was able to find his footing. He now is going to be that third factor. Got some good depth as well, especially with guys like Cole Wilson coming on in from Texas State. So Baylor has the skill set to go toe-to-toe, I think, with anybody in the country. The question is going to be is how well can this offensive line hold up? And on the opposing side, how well is this defense going to look? That was actually the downside last season of Baylor. And you don't think that because of it's Dave Aranda. He's supposed to be leading the show. He's supposed to be calling the shots. And they ended up finishing, what was it, 72nd in passing yards allowed. They were 94th in total yards allowed. They were 37th or 38th. 78th or 79th, allowing 35.4 points per game defensively. So you got to get rid of the explosive plays. If they can fix those issues, and I think that Dave Aranda having an entire offseason to look at this roster you got to feel confident that, hey, offensively, they're not dropping a beat. Defensively, they're improving. It's only up from here.
Bear, I want to get your thoughts on what we want to see from Jackson Arnold. I'll start and kick it to you because I don't know if my answer, what you'll think of it, but like when it comes to Jackson Arnold, again, all eyes are going to be on him, and I think deservingly so. I mean, a lot of Auburn's ceiling this season and what they do is going to be tied to quarterback play. Let's call it for what it is after sitting through Peyton Thorne for a few years. And I think what's interesting, the excitement's not where I thought it may be when they picked up a Jackson. I don't know how fired up people were down in the plains when they picked him up. I just think there's a lot of uncertainty, a lot of doubt. And again, there's some negative energy around the program. But, Bear, I just want to see Jackson Arnold go have fun. I want to go see him play loose. After the season he went through last year with Oklahoma, with Seth Luttrell calling the shots, with the injuries around him, he didn't have a whole lot of fun last year. Heck, he got benched. He got benched for Michael Van Buren. I thought Oklahoma quit on him way too early, if I'm being totally honest.
Not Michael Van Buren, Michael Hawkins.
Or Michael Hawkins, yes, my bad. Yeah, I'm thinking the other Michael, Mississippi State. Yes, Michael Hawkins, yes. Anyways, I thought they mailed it in on Jackson Arnold a little bit early last year, a little bit premature for my liking in that Tennessee game and then following. I just want to see Jackson go out there and play loose, play to his skill sets, play free, not be thinking too much. Dude, you got plenty of weapons around you. Like let's not overcomplicate this. And it doesn't all come down to him, but if I see that, I'm going to feel much better because I feel like Jackson Arnold's a guy. Listen, you got to live with some of the bad that comes with him. He's going to be a bit of a gunslinger, but he makes plays. That's what he does. He makes plays. He is a playmaker. I still believe in what Jackson Arnold can be in the upside of it. Is he going to be the best quarterback in the SEC? I won't go that far, but I still think he can be a really high-quality option for them. This is an important opener. I really believe so because I think the sense of urgency for Auburn is really, really high. And I know you and I have talked about, do we trust Hugh Freeze to get the most out of him? That's kind of a separate point, if you will. I just want to see Jackson Arnold go play free, go have fun, go do your thing, play to your skill sets, let your talent shine, and just kind of let it hang, man, and go from there. That's what I most want to see from Auburn's QB1. Just thoughts on Jackson Arnold, thoughts on the matchup, and just what you're looking for from him in this game.
I'll tell you what, when I look at this overall offensive personnel, you have 3 returning starting offensive linemen, and then you went out and you added in Xavier Chaplin from Virginia Tech, and you also brought in Mason Murphy from USC. So he's going to have protection this year. He was behind an offensive line that allowed the most sacks among Power 4 programs a season ago. And he didn't know who were his starting wide receivers. I mean, Deion Burks gets hurt in week 3. He ends up missing a slew of time. Nick Anderson's never fully healthy. So the guys you were playing a who's who with all were basically players you didn't think that were going to be on your roster when you signed on the dotted line to play at Oklahoma last season. Any one of the guys that you currently look at that is wide receiver 3, wide receiver 4 for Auburn would have been easily wide receiver 1 last season. So you upgrade in terms of personnel. I mean, you have Cam Coleman to throw to. That's a top 5 wide receiver in the country. You have Eric Singleton, who we don't, to be completely honest, Chris, we've never seen a player of his skill set, how his speed works, how he's great in the short to intermediate game, how he can line up in the backfield and take a quick handoff and go for 15 yards. We haven't seen that with the Hugh Freeze offense. That's now in your backfield. You also brought in Horatio Fields. You also have Malcolm Simmons. You have Perry Thompson. You have guys that currently are all viewed as fighting for reps that would have easily been able to take on over games in Norman last season. So the bad play calling, the unyielding fit with Seth Luttrell's personnel, and now having a better supporting cast around you, I think should, number one, build confidence for Jackson Arnold. He's not going to have to do this all by himself. He can end up being someone who can win because of he is not the X factor. He is just a part of the story. But the other thing that's going to be really important is how quickly can you make sure that confidence continues to build? Because we saw in the game against Tulane, he had a couple of miscues, and Tulane started marching its way back. We saw him lose all life when he played against Tennessee. If you throw an interception on the opening play, how quickly can you snap out of that to get right back in line to where you are connecting on the next touchdown pass, where you are connecting on the following play for a 15-yard pickup, and it's not derailing the rest of the afternoon? That's where we are when it comes to what a guy like Jackson Arnold can be. I'm not selling my stock on him. I refuse to sell my stock on him, but I'm also in this I got to see it moment. Can you show me that you are the right guy, that you really are that 5-star talent from Denton, Texas, that had a lot of Sooner fans believing we're losing Dylan Gabriel, but we're welcoming in the Jackson Arnold era with open arms?
Bear, you know how I know you and I haven't missed a beat? Because we're sitting here talking about Auburn, and this admittedly takes me back to last season. I feel like we just previewed a game for Auburn football a week ago. It feels like this is taking me back to the 2024 season, where we're talking about Auburn. We're previewing one of their games. We're about to lock in a prediction for one of their games. And I have this sick feeling in my stomach because my question is this, and we just won't know till we know. When this game inevitably gets down to the wire and it's close, do I believe in Auburn to clutch up late and to win it? Whether it's getting a defensive stop, whether it's a late drive, whatever it is, do I believe in Auburn to clutch up and win it? And like, that gives me anxiety. I feel very uneasy when I look at this game because I do think Baylor's a high-quality team. Like, this is a game I think you're going to have to go out and win this football game. You're going to have to take this game. They're not going to give you this game. Like you said, the chrome lids are back. It's a blackout. The crowd will be raucous. Like, it's going to take a superb effort to go in there and win this football game. Bear, I think it's a fascinating part of this game. There's so many layers to this one, but we won't know till we know. But how much has the culture changed in one offseason from the standpoint of when Auburn gets into these situations late, do they expect to win? Because that is a culture thing, Bear. Like, at some point, you either expect good things to happen or bad things to happen. And that team last year, they invented ways to lose late on a weekly basis, right? I mean, like that game against Oklahoma. I mean, we don't have to go back and rehash it, but like, they were creating ways to lose that were baffling. So is it more of the same of last year, or does some change in leadership, does it lead to new results late in games? Auburn's going to have that clutch factor this season. I know you would agree, to reach their goals and reach their potential, but we won't know till we know.
It all comes down to Hugh Freeze. It does. And I know that seems like it's unfair because of you look at this roster and maybe point out a couple of holes. I look at Auburn and I see a top 20 team. I do, top to bottom. I think they have one of the best wide receiver rooms in the country. I think they have a great defensive line. I think they have good depth at linebacker. I like some of the young talent in the secondary. I think they have an all SEC corner in Kayan Lee. I think that they can really set the tone early on with matchups against Oklahoma, matchups against Texas A&M on the road, and they can show we're a team that doesn't need to have the backing of Jordan Hare to be able to win games. We can do this away. We can do this in our backyard. We have changed our identity. And I thought last season Auburn was the same way. I didn't think Auburn was a bad team. I thought Auburn had ill-advised moments in what was a very disappointing season. But it all comes down to your coach. Can you make sure that you're not making the bonehead mistakes in a critical situation? The Oklahoma game is one. I look at the second half when we talk about what happened against Missouri. They were winning by double digits, and here comes Drew Pine onto the bench. Brady Cook back for the hospital to lead this game to a victory. I look at the Arkansas game, 4 interceptions. It was a I don't want to win, so you win type of moment. The Cal game, 4 turnovers in that matchup. Cal wasn't a great team last year. Cal was very underwhelming at times, and yet still you found ways to lose. I look at this and I say, at the end of the day, the pressure comes on the person who has the final say. Hugh Freeze has made it clear, I can negate plays if I don't like the call. Negate it. Do what you got to do. But feel confident that whatever you decide, it's the right thing to transcend your program in the proper direction. Because it's year 3, and we know what the deal is at Auburn. You don't have a success, you don't survive year 3.
Bear, simply put, it is put up or shut up time for Hugh Freeze, this Auburn program. You mentioned the roster. I've said it before this summer. It's easy to fall in love with this roster, but will it come together? Will it equate to wins? We'll find out. Certainly we'll find out on Friday, August the 29th, if the Auburn Tigers are going to beat Baylor in their season opener. That being said, Bear, let's lock in some predictions. I'll give you the honors. Once again, Auburn, a 2.5-point favorite. The over-under set at 57.5 by our friends over at FanDuel. Who's your pick? Who's winning this football game?
Look, I respect Baylor and I respect Auburn. I think that these are two teams that when they're humming, it does really good wonders for college football. They're not at the level of where it's like, it's good for college football the way Alabama is or USC is. But I'll tell you what, you have some fun storylines when Baylor is good and when Auburn is good. And I think both these teams can be good. I look at what you have in terms of the personnel down in Waco. It's another year with Jake Spavital in your system. You have Josh Cameron, who, by the way, may end up being the most underappreciated returner in college football. And special teams are going to be a factor in a lot of games this year. 34 to the house on a 60, 70-yard punt return could be really beneficial. Could happen in this game. I like the depth that you have at the wide receiver spot. You have Michael Trigg, the former Ole Miss USC tight end. He had 2 touchdowns last season. What's he going to do in year 2? And you had an entire offseason to really fix your defense with the coordinator that got his start helping LSU win a national title in 2019. And then with Auburn, Auburn has a slew of returning production. They got 3 starters on the offensive line back. They have 2 really good additions at the tackle spot. You maybe wonder about what that running back room is like, but you wonder because if they don't have the reps, it doesn't mean it's bad. And I look at this overall defense and I say, with how much returning production or guys that have seen reps, even if they were young last year, it was beneficial to them. But this to me comes down to 2 main elements: quarterback and coach. It's the Brazos blackout on the river. It is easily the game of games to where you want to set the standard out Baylor. It's a blackout on the Brazos. If you had Sawyer Robertson with Jackson, with this roster out at Auburn, I think that Auburn would be a 10-win team potentially. I don't know if I feel that way about Jackson Arnold leading the charge. I can see 8 wins. I can see 9. I think you're a playoff team if you have Sawyer Robertson. I think also you have Dave Aranda leading the charge. He's going to show you why you make the right changes. You make the personnel switches that you have to put yourself in a better position to be successful. I don't trust that with Hugh Freeze. So you know what? Hugh Freeze got to show me. You got to show me that you can make changes. You got to show me that you're willing to adapt. Until you do, I don't see you winning the big one. I don't see you going down on a Friday night to the Brazos River and beating up on Baylor. I got Baylor winning. I got Baylor certainly covering what would have been a 2.5-point swing if they were the favorites. I got Baylor winning by a touchdown. I'm going to go 31-24 final score. I do think that there will be some hiccups. I think you will see some pride and a lot of trajectory, positivity when it leads to Jackson Arnold. But ultimately, Sawyer Robertson, Bryson Washington, Josh Cameron, the most underrated trio in college football, get the job done in front of their home crowd. Blackout on the Brazos leads to a beatdown by Baylor.
Bear, I like the pick and I respect the pick and I understand the pick. I do. I hate my pick for this game. I do. This is a game. I almost don't want to gamble on this one. I just want to sit back and enjoy whatever chaos or madness or whatever is going to take place. Oh man. I mean, it's Auburn, or excuse me, Baylor definitely feels like the easy pick. They're a night game at home, blackout, all of this mess with Auburn over the offseason. Just one thing after another, day after day after day. It's just so much negative energy and just a swirling of nonsense, it seems like, on a daily basis. And I like this Baylor team a lot. I like Sawyer Robertson a lot. Again, a veteran offensive side of the football. Defense may be questionable. I think Vegas, again, is telling us with the over-under, they're expecting points in this one. They're expecting both offenses to be clicking. Like I told you, Bear, I want to see Jackson Arnold have fun. I want to see him play loose. I want to see him getting the football to his playmakers, Cam Coleman, Eric Singleton. They've got plenty of offensive firepower in this game to put up some big numbers. And I like Auburn defensively. I trust DJ Durkin on the defensive side. I think a guy like Keldrick Falk could be making a big play in this game at some point. You mentioned a Kyan Lee out in the corner. I think he could be making a big play. Like, I like this Auburn roster a lot. They terrify me. And I don't trust Hugh Freeze for anything. You and I both have said we're kind of out on. We're essentially out on Hugh Freeze until he shows you. We're out on. Yeah, win me back. Like you just. I've seen you for 2 years. At some point, you are what you are. This is your opportunity to prove me wrong. That said, Bear, I think Hugh Freeze is going to prove me wrong in week 1. I don't know why. I hate the pick. I do. I hate this pick. I hate this pick. I'd hate this pick either way. I really would. And if Baylor were still the favorite, because I've told you this, and I'll drop some free game for you all in case you didn't know. I had a buddy of mine whose dad gambled on sports for a living. He had friends that were Vegas sharps, and he would always tell me, Chris, if it goes across the number, if the line swings across the number, you either take the team it swung to or you don't bet at all. And what I mean by that, Auburn opened as the favorite. It swung to Baylor. At that point, you either bet on Baylor or you don't bet on it at all because somebody knows something for it to go that much. Well, now it's back to Auburn, so that logic doesn't necessarily apply. But I think that goes to show you how much uncertainty there is in this football game. But I'm going to ride with War Eagle against my better judgment. I don't trust Hugh Freeze at all. I'm going to ride with War Eagle. I'm going to ride with this roster that I feel like they will go into Waco, get a massive win. It is a game Auburn has to have. And I don't know. It's going to be wacky. It's going to be weird. Bear, call me crazy. I just think somehow, some way they get it done. They do something they couldn't do a season ago. I think they actually clutch up late for a 27-24 win over Baylor. I hate to pick. I won't be surprised when I'm wrong, but I'm going to take Auburn to win this football game. It's probably a no bet for me. Everything about this game is disgusting. Disgusting. This is a disgusting game. It's going to be disgustingly beautiful. I cannot wait to watch it, but I probably won't be attaching my money to this one. But I'm going Auburn against my better judgment. So we'll see what happens. I don't feel good about it.
Yeah, the way that I would describe Auburn's roster right now is they're an old school wooden roller coaster. Like you like it and you know it's going to have some fun, but holy crap, it hurts. It hurts. It's hard to trust that thing of staying alive when you're on it.
Yeah, I won't be surprised if my neck is sore after this game watching the back and forth between these two. It's going to be – and hey, by the way, we didn't mention too, Dave Aranda needs this one too. So this will be both of these sides. They know what's at stake, the intensity being an all-time high. The fact we get this game bear on Friday night, I think just adds to
more value.
So exciting. So the primetime slot, I believe that's the one. Maybe there's other games, but this is the game on that Friday night. What a way to tee up a great weekend of SEC football. So Bears going with Baylor. I'm going with Auburn. We'd love to hear your picks, your predictions. Who do you think wins this football game? The Tigers or the Bears? Bear, with that being said, let's tell our friends about our friends over at FanDuel, because as always, we are brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. On Tuesday, August 26th, it is FanDuel Futures Day, a new holiday for football fans. It's 24 hours of deals on all of your football season predictions. So take a flyer on the MVP race, whether it's Joe Burrow, Jaden Daniels, Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen. You can also crown your champion in August, whether it's Lions, Chiefs, Eagles, you name it, or parlay your division winner dark horses. Mark your calendars. This is your day for your hunches, your hot takes, your calls, and your odds. Visit the FanDuel app today and start planning your futures bets now, because Futures Day is one day and one day only. Make sure you sign up today over at FanDuel.com/SECU. That's FanDuel.com/SECU. FanDuel, play your game. Bear, great stuff as always. Again, guys, let us know your predictions down in the comments. You taking Auburn, you taking Baylor. What do you think about this craziness that will be this game down in Waco? Either way, guys, we really, truly appreciate each and every single one of you tuning in as always. Make sure you like, subscribe, turn on notifications. Check us out via podcast. Wherever you get your podcast, you can also find us across all social media platforms, as well as our website, SECUnfiltered.com. For Cole the Bear Thompson, I'm Chris Phillips. Appreciate each and every single one of you tuning in, and we will catch you all on the other side.